Hi, I'm Jason Gorber for ThatShelf.com, and we're here today to talk about Paul Simon. Now, I don't know, it was a couple months ago now, COVID times, everything sort of blends together, and some guy wrote an article talking about how in 200 years people would be listening to Bob Dylan and the Beatles, but not somebody like Paul Simon. And justifiably, people lost their minds because, first of all, we have no idea what in 200 years people are going to listen to. Rick Beato actually did a really interesting thing when he talked about, I guess it was 1829 or something like that nobody was listening to Bach, that Bach had completely fallen out of favor in about 1840 or 50, that they rediscovered, the greatest classical composer, or not classical, orchestral symphonic composer, whatever it is. No, because he did. Anyway, Bach, greatest composer, full stop, of all time. Now, we can debate all we want about Bob Dylan versus Paul Simon, but I am absolutely one of those people who says, why can't we have both? But, absolute gun to my head, I'm a Paul Simon guy. What can I say? Absolutely, so much of what Paul Simon did was influenced and shaped in so many ways by people like Dylan. There's a couple tracks it does in Simon Garfunkel days that actually sort of teases on that fact. But for such an incredible, moving, beautiful songwriter who just absolutely, rips at my soul with some of the stuff that he manages to do. The collisions that he has between drawing from gospel and country, folk, rock, doo-wop, all of these elements coming together. Obviously, world music, he's very well regarded on that front. Just this musical polyglot individual who did the Everly Brothers shtick with art, right through some of the stuff. I mean, those that have not given a shot, the stuff that he did with Brian Eno, an incredible record. His last record is just this amazing symphony of sampling and instrumental playing. It's just phenomenal. It would have been very easy for him to have left the sort of the comfort of the duo, the dyad of him and Garfunkel. Obviously, one of those very rich and complicated relationships in music history. Kids that met when they were in high school and then basically broke up as a band and then had their success and then had to get back together. There was always this tenuousness there. So when he went solo, it was always going to be a bit of a gamble, for lack of a better word. This is not the first time this has happened, but nonetheless, I think that people did not necessarily know the direction it was going to go in. The first couple records very much have echoes of the stuff of Simon Garfunkel, but on the other hand, they draw from really, really amazing influences and all kinds of elements there. Now, the last Simon Garfunkel record has shown up on Fancy One-Step Process. Mine is number 4,903 of 7,500. Ye Old Mobile Fidelity, a One-Step, Bridge Over Troubled Water. Now, this is an amazing record and sounds absolutely freaking beautiful on One-Step vinyl. I have it in a myriad of ways. I have the 24-192 files. This from the master tapes is really, really, really stunning. Weirdly, it's the title track of all of them that is probably the least well recorded of all things. In some ways, what's going on is like that. It was what's going on is sort of is semi-explanatory because it was recorded like months before the rest of the record. They hadn't quite got the studio all set up, and there's so much bouncing going on that. But with this, look, timbrally, orchestrally, the title track is still magnificent. But by the time you get into some of the other ridiculously amazing tracks on this record, things really, really open up. There's lots of ways to previously get audiophile Paul Simon nonsense. Not for every record, unfortunately. But here's one that I think a lot of vinyl fans might be aware of. This is the DCC, the Digital Compact Classics. Gotta love the use of Mistral font and digital compact in doing analog productions. Mastered in part by Steve Hoffman, of Steve Hoffman fame. Of Steve Hoffman Forum fame. DCC Compact Classics, limited edition number 1413. Again, a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful record. There goes Raymond Simon. Classic Tom of Tom and Jerry. Or was he Jerry? I don't even remember. Photo, Kid. Again, the mix of stuff like, Something So Right with this beautiful sort of oozing 1970s vibe. Loves Me Like a Rock, this incredible sort of street corner gospel sound. Really, really amazing stuff. Another of his much more popular solo records, incredible award-winning nonsense. So crazy after all these years. Title track, the electric piano on the title track is one of my favorite pieces to attempt to play on a keyboard. I'm utterly incapable of doing it, but it's so beautifully done. My Little Town, the reunion of Simon and Garfunkel in here. I Do It For Your Love, 50 Ways You Leave Your Lover. The classic story of that he just got Steve Gadd, he's like, play a groove, and then we got the definitive drum groove. Would have been introduced to me with 50 Ways to Love Your Lever on the Muppet Show. I'm absolutely convinced of it. Night Game, great. Gone at Last, again, just absolute pumping gospel piece. Some Folks' Lives Roll Easy, great, have a good time. This weird sort of off-kilter hiccupy beat, I really love it. Your Kind and Silent Eyes. Beautiful, beautiful record. That's sort of an original release. I think this is Canadian. Yeah, so this is our first Canadian pressing. This is the Record Store Day one. You can tell by the sticker on it. I don't know what we actually got. So we got Record Store Day reissue, the original on 180 gram. Is it actually pretty? No, it's just quote unquote just black. But nonetheless, this is likely the from the high-res digital file. I'd have to dig into that, but I highly doubt it's a full analog pressing. But nonetheless, these two versions have served me well until now. So thanks to our friends at Mobile Fidelity, I got a shipment. And inside, and by thanks, I mean I paid for this bastard. They actually have really nice packaging for what it's worth, this giant-ass box. So it's really not messing around when you get a couple of them, this huge bloody thing that they're actually shipping to me there. Big thick cardboard, nice paper. And what have we here? Still crazy. In here, for those that are interested, is how they normally sell the individual records. Like this. This is actually a copy of iRobot. Not for me, for a friend. Save on shipping. But there we are. The Still Crazy, after all these years, One-Step from Paul Simon. I am number 3,481 out of 8,000. Let's open it up and see what we got. I'm going to do this carefully because I am crazy and going to keep the sticker on the outside as best as I can. So, I've talked about this before. You can find out this. But the long story short is with the One-Steps, what they do, ideally, because it says original master recording, that means that they went back to the master tape, or at least that's what it's supposed to mean. And the One-Step portion it basically gets rid of 2 steps of manufacturing process. So normally you have the father, which is, the direct thing that you are cutting from. You stamp and you get a mother. You then take the mother and you basically do another another positive and another negative, or vice versa. Whatever, you get the idea. And that's what you actually make the records from. Is much more timing and much more expensive to constantly going back to the father and creating all kinds of new mothers. But you are getting that much closer to what the actual grooves are. They're also now using which is the sticker on the front that shows it's on super vinyl. Now, we have 2 competing super vinyls. We have several competing super vinyls, but this, I guess, is the RTI version, whereas QRP has their own sort of clarity vinyl. All of these are relatively indicative of the stuff that Mobile Fidelity was using in the 70s in Japan, this JVC vinyl that they actually released, I believe, for CED. I believe that to be correct, that they had to create a vinyl that was much less distortive of the sound, much better playback, frankly, and that was one of the ones that they developed. So, here we are, Paul Simon. Let's open it up as carefully as I can without destroying anything. Ye old foam. Somebody let me know in the comments, I have like UHQRs from 100 years ago, it seems, that these have not sort of faded or turned into liquid. I would not think that they would do that, but it's one of those things, like I know that on so many other films they actually sort of dissolve. So it'd be interesting to see what you think, whether you actually keep those. I mean, I know a lot of people actually take the records out of these boxes just to keep them on the shelves and keep the boxes pristine. Here is ye old one-step nonsense about how to actually tell the difference. Right, so we got the positive, the negative, and then the positive. So the father, the mother, and then the actual vinyl press, right? So you get the tape that's actually cutting a lacquer. That's your main metal thing, your father lacquer. The lacquer then presses this mother, and then you're using this to actually create the record. Whereas normally what happens is you create the lacquer, the father, then the mother, which is the same. These are the same essentially. Sorry, the lacquer. Let's try this again. This is the correction. This is why we need views. Straight from the tape, you got a lacquer. Normally, you're creating a father, then a mother, then a stamper. That's what it is. I got the gender wrong of my vinyl nonsense. So yes. So basically, this is the one step that you're going straight from the lacquer. The thing from the tape. You're making the thing that you can then make records off of, right? So a positive, negative, positive, and then, or negative, or whatever way you're actually doing it. Sorry, a positive, a negative, and then a positive. So the positive is you can actually play a lacquer if you're lunatic enough. You can put it on a record player. But then you do a negative of that so that when you press it, all the grooves will actually be the inverse of what's on here, and then you actually have the record. I will get this right. This is why, people actually edit these videos normally. Why bother doing that? Traditional step, lacquer, father, mother, stamper, vinyl. So hypothetically, you're getting rid of these two steps. So does it sound better? It usually means that they give a shit about the release. So they spend a lot more time worrying about it. They do it on better equipment, better vinyl. So hypothetically, yes, I really think that it ends up sounding better. At least the releases so far have been pretty incredible. MoFi does this. I'm not as big of a fan of that. Really, they're making this whole thing of the set, which means that you don't get a real quote-unquote gatefold inside. If you look at again what Analog Productions does with their UHQR, you're basically getting a full stone tip-on jacket inside the box, which does make the box even more ridiculous, but it is what it is. So still crazy after all these years. Beautiful reproduction of the original image. And then, because it's on 45 RPM, 2 records. Now, what I do not see here, unless I missed it, we don't get a fancy photo. A bunch of these you actually end up getting like band photos or something. You get a particularly hilarious one. I might as well show it. You get a particularly ridiculous one in the Simon & Garfunkel set. If I do this without destroying everything, that would be great. Again, stupid foam. I mean, if this is not a Jewish sex symbol, centerfold of the two of them, I don't know what it is. But yeah, no photo, no frameable stuff from our solo Paul Simon, it seems. But you do get the record in these individually gold stamped covers. The inside is just a plain white to give it a little bit more density. And also something that MoFi does that a bunch of the others is not a reproduction of the original label. It is, in fact, their custom MoFi label to show off their own branding. Shows that it's Ultra Disc, shows that it's one step. So there you go. I love that Paul Simon is being accommodated in this format. I think this record is absolutely amazing. I cannot wait to listen to it. I expect it to sound really, really good. This is a beautiful sounding recording. One of the great recordings of the early 70s. One of the only ones to sort of take away from somebody else that I would love to see one step done, which is, hello, Mr. Stevie Wonder. I know you have your master tapes and no one else has touched them. It would be really fantastic if you, I don't care which of them, give it to one of the audiophile companies, do a reasonable run on it, and do a real kick-ass vinyl release of your sort of suite of, I guess, 68 to 74 records. Please choose one of them to be a one step or a UHQR. do the other ones as immaculate, straight from the master tape pressings, and do it while the tapes are still in a condition to do it. That's a whole nother conversation. But somewhere in between that run of albums of the year for Stevie Wonder, you had Paul Simon sort of poke his head up and show that, in fact, yeah, this little tiny Jewy boy with folk music leanings that had an incredible ear and just such a gorgeous gift for melodicism has brought truly one of the absolute albums to be treasured forever. So here for thatshelf.com, I'm Jason Gorber. Thanks so much for watching. I am still crazy after all these years. This is our look at Paul Simon. Please subscribe. Please follow us on social media. Please let us know in the comments if there's other records you would like to see or any other questions you might have. And we will see you next video. All the best.